Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Point here, and welcome to a video that I actually wanted to make a while ago, but never really got around to doing it, and that is a video on a Persona 4 remake. So, you guys remember semi-recently I did a video talking about what I would want in a Persona 1 remake, because it, after Persona 3 Reload, was the game that I wanted them to remake next, was obviously Persona 1. I've spoken about this a few times in different videos. But I did mention that I enjoyed making that video a lot, and that if I could find enough points to make one, I would make a video on a possible Persona 4 remake. And I actually was able to put together a list of like bullet points and shit I would want in a Persona 4 remake, or more just not really things I would want in it, but just things I would want them to do with the Persona 4 remake. And I actually did try to record this video a little while ago, but I never ended up putting it out because I wasn't really happy with how it came out. So here we are again. So I have said in the past that I wasn't really the biggest fan of the idea of making a Persona 4 remake because I just didn't really think Persona 4 needed it. But after playing Reload and actually sitting down and thinking about it, I do think a Persona 4 remake could be good in multiple different ways. Because for those who don't know, Persona 4 is my least favorite of the modern Persona games. I much prefer 3 and 5 to 4 by a long shot. I think 4 easily has the most problems out of any of the games. So a Persona 4 remake on paper sounds like it would be right up my alley. But the thing with Persona 4 and remaking it is that most of my problems with Persona 4 have nothing to do with the actual gameplay. I think its gameplay is the closest thing to perfect you can get with it. I think Golden just nails pretty much everything gameplay-wise. All of my problems with Persona 4 more so come from the story and the character writing and all of that sort of stuff. But I have been able to cobble together a list of things that I think could be improved, and that's what this video is. So without further ado, let's just get right into the list with the first point, which is that I think they should wait until after Persona 6. Now, here's the thing. I'm honestly not even sure why I put this on the list, because I made this list a while ago. I'm not even entirely sure why I put this on the list, because Persona 6 is definitely going to come out before any Persona 4 remake or any other Persona remake. For the simple fact that Persona 3 Reload just came out, and they're just now discussing the possibility of doing another remake. While we know that Persona 6 has been in development for years, and is most likely going to release within the next 2 years. Hell, there's a solid chance Persona 6 gets announced this year. So, well, officially announced. Obviously, they have confirmed that they're working on it at the very least. So, yeah, but just despite the fact that this is literally a thing that is going to happen, I do think it makes the most sense to wait until after Persona 6, for the simple fact that if you wait until after Persona 6, any improvements that are made in that game can be carried over into this, plus, you know, just doing 2 remakes back to back. Yeah, like I said, I don't really know why I put this on the list, because this is literally a thing that will happen. Persona 6 will come out before the Persona 4 remake, so whatever. The next thing up is, and this was my biggest problem with Persona 4's gameplay, was its whole hidden weaknesses shtick. If you want to know most of my problems with Persona 4, I haven't made a Persona 4 video myself. I might make one in the future, I guess we'll see. But all I currently do is direct you towards Bubble Tea's Persona 4 video. I think that video is absolutely fantastic and highlights all of the issues with that game pretty much perfectly. But for those who don't know what I mean and don't want to go and watch that video in order to understand this, basically Persona 4 has this weird fucking mechanic where it has hidden weaknesses. So like you might hit an enemy with an element and it'll do like weakness level damage, but it won't count as a weakness, so it won't knock them down. And they also have like hidden resistances, so like you'll hit an enemy with an attack and it'll do less damage, also like it's being resisted, but it won't tell you that it's being resisted. One of the best examples of that is, spoiler, in the Adachi boss fight, when you if you use physical attacks on him, they actually do resisted damage, so it's actually much better to use magic in that fight, but the game doesn't tell you that he resists it. And another big part of this is almighty resistance, because for some reason, in Persona 4, enemies can resist almighty attacks. Not even just hidden, some of them will just straight up resist almighty, which, you know, kind of defeats the entire fucking purpose of almighty as an element. So, yeah, this was the biggest problem with Persona 4's gameplay. So I think just fix that up and you already have a significantly better game on your hands. because like I say, Persona 4, aside from that, its gameplay is actually pretty fucking solid. So yeah, just fix that up and you instantly have a much better game from a gameplay standpoint. The next thing up is I want them to make the social system a little less strict. So Persona 4, oddly enough, seems to have the most strict social system of any Persona game. I don't know why 4 in particular is really strict with it, but 4 seems to have the most strict social system. So for those who don't know, whenever I play Persona games, I always try to prioritize social links that are of actual story importance. So party members and other story important characters. So in Persona 4, that would be all of the members of the investigation team, Dojima, Nanako, and Adachi, and Marie, obviously. And in Persona 4, I just barely have enough time to finish those social links while using a guide, while always having the correct persona. It's ridiculous. Like, you have to follow such a strict schedule in order to actually finish all of the social links in this game. Even Persona 3 isn't as strict as this game is, and I don't understand why that is. So I feel like making the social system elements a little less strict for this game would definitely be a good thing. Whether that's, you know, just giving like more days, or like, I don't know, making social stats rank up a little quicker, just stuff like that. Because I feel like Persona 4's social system is needlessly like strict, and I don't fully understand why 4 of all games is like that. Like with Persona 3, I'm very regularly able to get like most of the social links in the game done. Whereas I say with 4, I can just barely get the story important characters. And then with Persona 5, it's actually very, very easy to max out every social link in that game without having to use a guide, but that's a different story. So the next thing up is to rework some of the characters to be more consistent / interesting. What I basically mean by this is, like, obviously don't change characters too much, like you don't want to fuck with things too much, but I feel like certain characters in Persona 4 are just inherently less interesting than other Persona characters. Like, for example, Persona 4, like, a lot of people say the investigation team is the best Persona cast. I think they're easily the worst, because they have the most characters that I either don't like or think are incredibly uninteresting. Like, there's Teddy. I think everyone can agree that Teddy fucking blows as a character. And I don't think they're going to change that, because that's just kind of how Teddy is. But then you also have characters like Chie. I absolutely love the idea of Chie as a character. I love what they're going for with Chie. But she's just kind of an asshole for, like, no reason. Particularly in regards to Yosuke. Like, those two are somehow worse than Yukari and Junpei, which is fucking saying something. Like, with Yukari and Junpei, I could at least tell they were friends. With Yosuke and Chie, I don't know how they can function being in the same room for more than 5 seconds. Like, those two need to be kept apart at all costs. And there's Yukiko, who is barely even a fucking character. Like, Yukiko is a gag. She is literally a gag. She is, look, thing happen, crazy woman laugh. That is literally her entire character, and it's like, I really like Yukiko's social link. Her social link is so fucking good, and it gives us like a glimpse into what could be a much more interesting character. So I just want them to particularly with Chie and Yukiko, because those two frustrate me to no end, because I love what they're going for with them, but I just hate the execution. And I feel like they could be done better. So if they're gonna redo this, like, whether or not just make Chie less of a cunt, just, you know, spending Yosuke's money without asking him first, like, that is a pretty, like, that's an actual crime, and you can't really make an excuse for that, or just make Yukiko less fucking boring. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's not something I fully expect them to do. Like, I understand that in these remakes they try not to change too much of the story and stuff, but I feel like when it comes to characters like Chie and especially Yukiko, this kind of stuff just needs to be done. Because, like, I like most of the other characters, but it's just, with those two in particular, and I guess Teddy to an extent as well, I don't know, it just frustrates me. And to be honest, the next point kind of has something to do with this as well, and I'm sure I'm going to get crucified for this because people fucking love this character. but I've never been the biggest fan of him, and that's Dojima. Now, look, no matter how much they could change Dojima's character, and I don't expect them to change Dojima very much, because people already really like him. With me, I dislike Dojima just for personal reasons, like stuff that I don't really want to get into on YouTube. But I have personal reasons for disliking Dojima. So I no matter what, even if they do what I'm about to say, I probably still won't like him very much as a character. But I feel like just for story consistency and just like general like they want people to like this character, they should give Dojima more of a reason to actually be suspicious of you from the start. Because from the minute you save Yukiko from the first dungeon, he is instantaneously suspicious of you for some fucking reason. And I don't fully understand why. Like, the first time Dojima has a genuine reason to actually suspect you of anything suspicious is with the Risei situation, where Risei outright tells him that you and his friends went in and started asking her about the case. That is the first time Dojima has a genuine reason to suspect you. Anytime prior to that, he just comes off as either a paranoid jackass or just a bit of an asshole. Because, like, you know what I mean? It kind of gives me the vibe. He always kind of gave me the vibe that he puts his work before family. And I know that's part of Dojima's character. But the fact that he puts the case before you and he just sees everybody as a suspect or that sort of thing, I just always thought that was very strange, and a very strange way to write the character, where he's just instantly suspicious of you for basically no reason. So like I say, this probably wouldn't help me personally like Dojima anymore, but I feel like just for consistency's sake, it would be a good idea to change something like that. It's like, I don't know, maybe add like a scene where like he overhears you, Yosuke, and Chie talking about the case outside of the weapons shop or something. Or he sees them going into the weapons shop and wonders what the fuck are they doing in there. That, just stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like stuff like that could really help into helping the player understand why Dojima is the way he is. But whatever, that's very much a me thing. Like, I understand not a lot of people are gonna think that's necessary, but that's just something that always bothered me. The next one is also kind of a continuation of the whole make the characters more interesting thing, and that's I think they should actually give you a bit more personality, because you as a character has always fascinated me, because he's a lot of people's favorite Persona protagonist. And I understand why. Like, the anime, the spin-offs, like, Yu is a very interesting character in a lot of different ways. But what I've always found the most interesting about Yu in particular is that despite being, like, one of the most fleshed-out Persona protagonists and a lot of people's favorite Persona protagonist, in the actual game that he is the protagonist of, in Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden, he is by far the least interesting protagonist. Like, when you compare him to, say, Ren in Persona 5, Ren is he's basically a full-on character with his own motivations, his own backstory, his own character arc that he goes through throughout the course of the game. Ren is basically just a character that does not speak. Like, he is his own character as far as I'm concerned. And then when you look at, like, Makoto, just his whole vibe, his whole always hands in the pockets thing, the fact that he's always very quiet, the fact that he always has the headphones in, you get a very good vibe of the type of character that Makoto is. That he's quiet, he's not the most social person in the world, and he likes to kind of be left alone. And he's very like apathetic in a lot of different cases. That's the kind of character that Makoto is. And the same goes for Katone. Katone is a very like, she's a very damaged person who's been through a lot, but chooses to look on the bright side of life. And, you know, that is an inherently interesting character. Someone who's been, you know, kicked while they're down and has gotten through so much shit in life, but still tries to remain positive for the sake of everyone else. Always thought that was a really interesting character. Whereas you in Persona 4... he doesn't really have any of that. Like, his design is very, like, there's nothing about his design that really sticks out. Like, I guess he wears his blazer open, I suppose. Like, there's nothing really about Yu's design that sticks out as giving him much of a personality. And even, like, you know, like Ren in Persona 5, for example, talks a lot, and then Makoto has his I don't care responses, and then Katone has her like smart ass, like little bastard responses, as Oziak once referred to it. You know what I mean? Like, but Yu doesn't really have any of that. He's just kind of your bog standard JRPG self-insert protagonist. So I feel like giving him something similar to what Ren had in Persona 5, where, you know, he'll have, like, for example, like, Ren would sometimes speak in certain cutscenes, where, like, for example, the cutscene where Futaba first comes out at the beach, and he goes, "Are we missing one?" And, like, you know, he has lines throughout the course of the game where he'll randomly just say something. Give you some of that. Just have him say lines occasionally that kind of fit in with the personality that he had in the anime. You know, give him, like, more personalized dialogue options to kind of give off more of his, like, sort of goofy personality. And then the most important one, I think, is the battle dialogue. Use battle dialogue in Persona 4 is so fucking uninteresting. It's just Persona! Ah! And then a bunch of Persona names. It's the most bog standard bullshit ever. Like, give him more stuff. Like, I know I keep using Ren as an example, but he's just the perfect example of how I would like them to handle this. He had his own lines that kind of fit in with his personality. Like, he had, "Ravage them! You're mine!" You know, stuff like that. Give you more stuff like that. Just, like, you know, don't make him a fully voiced character. Like, you don't need to go full Ringo with this. I feel like that would tamper with the game's, like, narrative a little too much. But, you know, just give little hints of that anime personality in there because of how much people love this character. You know what I mean? I feel like that would be a good thing to do. The next one, this one is, I'm gonna try not to get into drama with this because I know this is a kind of touchy subject. Well, part of it is anyway. So I want them to, the next thing is I want them to re-implement the Yosuke romance, and I also have written down here to implement a possible kanji romance. Now, I actually have multiple different reasons for wanting them to do this. One reason is that there's a lot of people out there that really, really despise Yosuke for the way he treats kanji, and I cannot blame them. I really like Yosuke personally, but I can understand why a lot of people don't like him. And even the people that don't like him have always said, because it's very clear from, like, the scrap Yosuke romance stuff, that it's very clear that the reason that Yosuke acts the way he does towards kanji was originally supposed to be because he was secretly by himself. That's clearly what that was supposed to be originally. But then they got cold feet and cut the romance route. I feel like if you re-implement that, not only does it help not only does it explain so much about Yosuke as a character, but I feel like it also makes him more likable, and it makes him just a much more interesting character of, like, someone who's struggling with his sexuality and therefore treats people who are also struggling with their sexuality like shit as, like, a, you know, as, like, a projecting kind of thing. You know what I mean? I feel like if you add this romance back into the game, it just makes things so much more interesting. But the other reason is that I feel it's inevitable that Atlus is going to put same-sex romance in Persona at some point. Technically, they've kind of already done it a few times. Like, Persona 3 Portable kind of has it. Apparently, Persona 2 kind of has it as well. I haven't played the Persona 2 games, but from what I hear, apparently there's implications with Tatsuya and Jun. But, or maybe it's more than implications, I don't know. All I know is that there's a part where Lisa asks Tatsuya who he likes, and apparently Jun is one of the options you can pick. But yeah, it's inevitable that is probably going to happen at some point, and I feel like doing that through a remake rather than doing it through an original game would be a very good way to do it, because not only are you re-implementing this thing from a character that I feel like he's a much worse character for not having this, but you're also, like, you're also just, I don't know, I just feel like it makes more sense to do it through a remake. And I also say add a possible kanji romance, because, I mean, why not? At that point, like, if you're gonna do it for Yosuke, why not do it for kanji? Like, kanji is, like, very heavily implied to be bisexual as well, so, you know, why not? The only real reason for not doing it with kanji is that I could see that fueling the flames of the whole kanji is gay thing, which I just don't want. But, you know, that's, you know, I feel like it's not fair to let dumbasses like that ruin shit like this, and I feel like putting in this type of thing into the game could be very, very interesting. So, yeah, that was, I actually forgot I had that on the list, but yeah, that's something I do feel very, very strongly about. The next one is to add more unlockable costumes. So, I've said before that I think Persona 4 handles the costume system better than any other Persona game, because with Persona With Persona 5, it was pretty much all DLC. And then the way Persona 3 handles it is like the interesting ones are DLC, and the stuff that was kind of already in the game, you have to find like in chests in Tartarus, which I always thought was kind of dumb. I absolutely loved how Persona 4 handled it. I thought the way it handled it was perfect. Any costumes that the characters wear throughout the course of the game, like their normal clothes, their multiple different versions of their uniforms, their gym clothes, all that kind of stuff, you would just unlock as the story progresses. Like, you wouldn't have to go to your way to unlock them. And then the more, like, exciting ones, like the Gekko-kan uniforms, the Featherman costumes, the swimsuits, the Halloween costumes, that sort of stuff, was all stuff you would have to buy in a shop that was dedicated just for costumes. I still think that is the best way they have ever handled costumes in a Persona game. And I just want them to add more. Like, just add more stuff to that shop. Add, like, I don't know, Shujin uniforms, Phantom Thief outfits, the dancing costumes, like Persona 1 and 2 costumes, SMT-If costumes, SMT-4 costumes, possibly SMT-5 costumes, because I love how the uniform in SMT-5 looks, and I can't wait until we actually start getting that as a costume in games. I just feel like adding more costumes would be a good thing, because like I say, I just think it handles that a lot better than any other game ever has. You know what I mean? I just feel like you have a good system there. Why not add on top of it? But let's be honest. We both know that if they were gonna do this, they'd probably just make like the Shujin ones and all that DLC. Let's be honest, they would. But personally, I would much prefer they did it this way. The next one might be a little bit controversial, but I think it's a fun idea. So, for a little bit of background, when Persona 4 Golden came out, it came out after, for those who don't know, Persona 4 Golden came out after the release of the Persona 4 anime. And the Persona 4 anime was very, very popular. It was very well received. People still really like it. Personally, I actually think it's the best way to experience Persona 4. That's just probably a hot take, but that's just kind of how I see it. I think that anime is fantastic. But because of how popular that anime was, they actually ended up implementing a lot of stuff from it into Golden. So one of the most like glaring examples is True Story. True Story as a song was made for the anime. Like there's like a special opening for the episode where Rise is introduced of her like performing live, and True Story is a song that plays. So they decided to bring that song into Golden. So that's the example that everybody kind of knows. But the other example is that there's actually a whole ass fucking character that is just exclusive to the anime and does not exist outside of the anime, and her name is Aika Nakamura. So Aika is like a character, she's like a gag character, but she's a very interesting character. Her whole thing is that she's the daughter of the dude that owns the Aika, fucking beef bowl place. Okay, for some fucking reason, I seemed to think that the restaurant that her father ran was also called Aika, like rather than Aya. I don't know why. Aika is her first name, not her last name, so I don't know why I would immediately assume that. I guess I assumed that the dude named his restaurant after his daughter or something, but yeah, it's Aya. The place is called Aya, and the girl is called Aika. I don't know how I made that mistake, but yeah, I'm just clearing that up. And there's this running joke with her where she's always on duty, basically. And yeah, she's basically always on duty, and like there's a running joke where anytime they want to order food, they order from Aika, and no matter what fucking situation they're in, she will always deliver it. There's literally an episode where they're being chased down the street by Kanji, and she rolls up on a goddamn moped, and they start doing the goddamn exchange while on the run. It was one of the funniest scenes in that fucking show. If you haven't watched the Persona 4 anime, go and watch it. It's fantastic. That's the original Persona 4 anime, not the Golden one. Stay the fuck away from the Golden one. But yeah, and in Golden, there are some slight references to her. Sometimes when you go to Aika, there'll be like references where the owner of the store will be like, oh, you just missed my daughter. She's gone out, blah, blah, blah. I say, and this, like I said, this is probably going to be a little controversial. I say, if you go to Aika enough times, have it so that you will actually catch her there. And fuck it, just make her a social link. Dude, I think this could be such a fun idea to have. Not only could you market that, oh, new social link, but it's also a character that people already kind of like. Plus, you know, we all know how much Persona 4 fans love their waifu wars. This gives them another romance option to fight over, so fuck it. People will eat that shit. Hell, not even just Persona 4 fans. Persona fans in general will eat something like that up. But I just think it'll be a fun idea to add her as a character, because I always thought she was a funny character, and I feel like the idea of a social link with her would be really, really funny. You can make like just a social link about the crazy situation she gets into, like while trying to deliver food. I just think that could be a funny social link. It could be like, I don't know. I don't know, dude. This just came to my head, and I thought it was a fun idea. I don't know, dude. I just thought this was a fun idea. And the last thing on the list, this one is more of just this is more of just a rough idea, but one of the most important things to Persona 4 is its setting, is Inaba. You know, the town is so important to the setting and themes and tone of the game that I feel like, you know, why not expand it a little bit more? Like there's a lot of locations in Persona 4 that we know of that we can only really go for like social links or during certain cutscenes. So I say have more explorable areas in Inaba. So like say have at the bus stop, or just not even just at the bus stop, have the player be able to actually go to the Amagi Inn, for example, and have that be an actual location. Have them like sell something there, or hell, on the days off, maybe have Yukiko spawn there rather than spawning in the shopping district. Just, you know, have fun shit like that, or maybe have the hospital be an actually explorable area rather than just a place where you go for like fucking, like, just for like the job and the social link and stuff. I just think stuff like that could be really, really cool. It could be a really good way to, like I say, just expand upon the setting and let people explore Inaba more, since, like I say, it is so important to the game's like tone and it's like, and just its whole, it's so important to the game. So I feel like having more of it be explorable would be a really, really good idea, and stuff like that. Like, I especially love the idea of being able to actually go to the Amagi Inn. You can even have a thing where like you can stay the night there, and like it gives you like a certain boost to something, or maybe sometimes when you stay there, like you'll overhear like a conversation. You'll overhear like Yukiko having a conversation with like Chie or something, because maybe Chie's there hanging out with Yukiko or something. I just feel like there's a lot you could do with that location in particular, and the hospital was just kind of a fun like side idea where it's like, oh yeah, you know, you could do that. But yeah, that last one is more of just a rough idea. Honestly, there's probably people out there who could come up with a much more expansive idea for more locations in the game than I could. That's just sort of a rough idea to give. It's just a rough idea. But anyway, that's everything I have to say. This video actually ended up being a lot more fun to make than I thought it would be, because, like I said, I wasn't actually that big of a fan of the idea of a Persona 4 remake, but once I started, like, actually sitting down and trying to think of things they could add, I found myself getting a lot more creative with it, because when I made my one on Persona 3, like, over a year ago, it was more just stuff that felt like necessity. It was just me listing off things that everybody kind of wanted, where with this one, I felt myself being able to being actually more creative and coming up with more interesting ideas to actually add to the game. So this was actually a lot of fun. I don't really have any other ideas for remake videos. Like, I know everyone's going to say Persona 2, but I haven't played the Persona 2 games, and I don't feel comfortable talking about remakes of games I haven't played. So as of now, this is probably going to be the last Persona remake video I talk about for a while. Maybe once I finish, or once I play through the Persona 2 games, I'll do a video on those. But as of now, this will probably be the last remake video I make for a while. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like, leave a comment in the comment section below telling me what you thought of my ideas, and also just any of your own ideas for a Persona 4 remake, because I'm genuinely interested to hear what people would want from a remake of this game. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace. I just realized I did my old outro by accident. That's what happens when you do an outro for fucking years. Jesus Christ.